Anushka has already been nominated about 9 or 10
Yeah,
times. She's absolutely brilliant. One of the best musicians.
There's
that
Radhika
Indian
Vekaria
origin.
also.
Yeah, Radhika is again from the Indian diaspora. Never lived in India, but very important part of our Indian diaspora. My favorites are Salim Suleiman.
Wow.
I think they're amazing because they not just work in film music where they've done a brilliant job. They've also worked with other composers. For me, the feeling does not reduce at all.
Right.
Because the logical thought would be that you won, you've been nominated 4 times, and the feeling constantly reduces. But the thing is that I constantly grow as a musician with every year. I would love to do more and more work in Indian languages, especially the tribal dialects.
Wow.
But it is very, very obvious that music has got a very therapeutic effect on people. We just have to quantify it.
Three-time Grammy Award winner and world-acclaimed music composer Ricky Kej is no stranger when it comes to representing Indian music on a global platform. With his 4th nomination in line, we have with us the man himself to talk about this latest nomination and all that's in store for him this year. Hello sir, welcome to News 18 Showsha.
Thank you so much. Always great to be on News 18.
My pleasure. First of all, congratulations for your 4th nomination.
Thank you.
I mean, how does it feel for you? Like 3 times a winner. 4 times, does it feel same every time? Do you like, how is it different from the previous 3 years?
This is a question that I've asked so many times because, but it's a great question but for me, the feeling does not reduce at all.
Right.
Because the logical thought would be that you won, you've been nominated 4 times, and the feeling constantly reduces. But the thing is that I constantly grow as a musician with every year. I constantly grow as a person. And since all of my music has got a very important cause associated to it, so I'm learning more about these causes. My knowledge is increasing. I'm growing as a human being. So this album, in my opinion, is my best work ever. And I feel it's a culmination of all of these ideas, thoughts, knowledge that I've gained over the last 25 years of my musical career. So it feels really good to be validated for this album.
Absolutely. I have my next question in what you just said. I have heard it in previous interview of yours also as I was watching, that you believe every project of yours is the best one yet that you have done, right? So how is Break of Dawn any different? How do you reflect on your musical journey, evolution as an artist when you have done this album?
So for me, my main cause since I've been a child has been the environment. Even before I knew what the meaning of the word environmentalist was, I guess I was an environmentalist as a really small child. And so all of my music reflects either the environment or some kind of a social cause or social impact around those areas, because the environment cannot be taken in isolation. Now what happened was that a few years ago, I was exposed to this beautiful Indian philosophy, a Hindu-Buddhist philosophy, which said that the impurities of the environment is a direct reflection of impurities of the mind. And if you want to purify the environment, first you have to purify the mind. And that seemed so obvious, that if you've got a pure mind, then you're going to be compassionate to society, you're going to be compassionate to the environment, to wildlife, to animals, to everything around us, to basically all life. So it was that thought that got me to make Break of Dawn, which is all about promoting mental wellness through music and through Indian rooted music. So basically there are 9 songs in the album. I've taken 9 Indian classical rags. I've composed each of those 9 songs based on an Indian classical rag, and that's the album.
Beautiful. Can you also walk us a bit through, the creative process that you had curating this album? What message did you exactly want to spread through the album?
So the creative process basically is that, as I mentioned, I did a lot of research to figure out, which rags would work best to promote mental wellness.
Absolutely.
And then I created these pieces of music, worked with some amazing musicians, flute players, sitar players, violinists, an orchestra from Los Angeles, and some amazing singers. There are no lyrics in the album, but we've got some non-lyrical, vocals like alaps and sargams and things like that. So, and crafting it in such a way that it had a strong scientific backing. So I worked with institutes all over the world to figure out what kind of music would have a therapeutic effect on the mind. And we did a strong collaboration with Stanford Global Health and with Stanford School of Biodesign, which is basically from Stanford University in California in America. And they in fact gave us a very strong citation where they congratulated me on addressing the global burden of mental health through Indian-rooted wellness music, and I've been working with institutes all over the world to have enough data and enough knowledge on this music, such that doctors will be able to actually, the end goal is that to get doctors to actually prescribe this music to their patients for mental wellness, just like how they would prescribe physiotherapy or medicines and things like that. Yeah,
absolutely, it's true. There's this thing about awards and recognition which always inspires you to do bigger and better things in life, with so many accolades and so many recognitions that you have had over the years. How has it shaped your life so far?
No, it shaped my life a lot actually, because doing the kind of music that I do, which is very niche music, it's not mainstream music. Absolutely. It's not music that hundreds of millions of people will be listening to. Exactly. There's a very specific and a very loyal audience for this music, and I'm very glad to have and to enjoy that very loyal fan following, which is very quality fan following. So the thing is that awards and recognitions, as you correctly mentioned, what happens is that it shapes your career simply because it helps you. It helps you open doors. It gives you a platform for spreading awareness on the various causes that are very important to me, which are very close to my heart. Spreading them to a wider audience. Also helping me collaborate with musicians that I've always wanted to collaborate with, learn from these musicians. So basically just honing your art form, getting your art form better, and to ensuring that the causes that I'm associated with and advocating have its desired impact.
Right. So this year around, it's very beautiful a moment that we have other Indian representation at Grammys with Anoushka, Shankar and others. How does it feel? Is there a sense of joy and pride as you see there is more Indian representation at a platform like Grammys?
No, of course, Anoushka has been representing us for a very long time. But of course, all of these musicians are from the Indian diaspora. They are all of Indian origin. Anoushka has already been nominated about 9 or 10 times. She's absolutely brilliant. One of the best musicians.
There's Radhika Vekaria also.
Yeah, Radhika is again from the Indian diaspora. Never lived in India, but a very important part of our Indian diaspora. She has got a brilliant album out. We have Chandrika Tandon, who is such a brilliant entrepreneur and somebody who is making India proud on various levels, not just in music, but in various levels making India proud. So it's very nice to see that. Even last year we had Shakti that actually got nominated and even won. We had Rakesh Chaurasia who did a beautiful collaborative album with Ustad Zakir Hussain and with Bella Fleck. And and actually ended up winning a Grammy. So I think Indian classical music and Indian traditional forms of music are being represented constantly on the international stage, and and winning us accolades and making us proud.
Right, beautiful, absolutely right. Next up is a rapid fire round. You can just take your time, answering these.
I'll be fast.
Please, it's okay. If I ask you, who's the one person who has inspired you thoroughly in your musical career, or per se a music icon that you have believed in so far, who is it?
I would say definitely Pandit Ravi Shankar. Because Pandit Ravi Shankar single-handedly made Indian classical music mainstream all over the world. Absolutely. And he's basically the ambassador of Indian music to the world, and made the sitar a commonly known instrument everywhere. So I'm hugely inspired by him, and he broke cultural barriers and collaborated with some of the greatest musicians ever. So hugely inspired by him.
Beautiful. A contemporary Indian musician you love listening to these days?
For me, my favorites are Salim Sulaiman.
Wow.
I think they're amazing because they not just work in film music where they've done a brilliant job, they've also worked with other composers, and they come up with such amazing, brilliant, independent music and help the entire musical fraternity and upcoming musicians to hone their talent. So I think I'm hugely inspired by these two brothers.
Wow. Very, very nice. Same. If you weren't a musician, what is it that we would know Ricky Kej as today?
No, just a musician and nothing else.
Wow,
there is absolutely nothing that I know how to do and nothing that I'm interested in.
There's more I think I want to talk about it, but let's just complete this segment.
Sure.
Yeah. What's the biggest challenge that you face every time you're composing a music album?
Biggest challenge that I face every time I'm composing a music album? There is, to be honest, there is no challenge actually, simply because challenges and writer's block and all of that stuff happens when when you are asked to make music, when somebody is telling you to make music and they give you a deadline, and you have to constantly think about what somebody else is trying to think about. For example, a director gives you a brief and the director says that I want this kind of a music, and you're constantly thinking whether the director will like the music, and the director says that you've got 1 week to deliver this. That's when writer's block happens. But with the kind of music that I do, where I'm constantly making music from the heart and I'm making music that I want to create, and I create this music without any deadlines.
Wow.
So there is no such thing as a writer's
Challenge.
block. Yeah, so
Nice.
it's not a huge challenge actually.
A musician that you grew up listening to?
A musician that I grew up listening to was Stuart Copeland, the drummer of The Police and one of the greatest drummers in the history.
Right.
I mean, the greatest drummer in the history of music.
Okay.
And I got to collaborate with him on my last album, so
Right.
that was a huge experience. But yeah, he's a musician that I grew up listening
Right. With Indian music at its all-time high popularity right now, is there one language, Indian language, that you would like to touch upon? You haven't so far. Is there any kind of music from a particular region that you want to try?
I think I've composed music in pretty much every popular Indian language and every living Indian language,
Yes.
including the tribal dialects from
Right.
Odisha, from North Karnataka, from Tamil Nadu, from the Northeast, Rajasthani folk music.
Everything.
So the thing is that I think when it comes to Indian languages, I'm pretty much sorted, and I would love to do more and more work in Indian languages, especially the tribal dialects.
Wow, beautiful. Again, you have performed in quite a lot of countries. When you have traveled in a place which is not in India per se, is there a genre that has really stuck in your heart, you wanted to try, or what that has completely moved you?
So yes, true. I've traveled all over the world, and I've listened to all sorts of music. But I believe that what inspires me the most is indigenous forms of music, like how we call them tribal forms of music in India.
Right.
So you have First Nations music in Canada, you have the Native American music in the United States, and you have Peruvian music, you have Brazilian music. So I love these ancient forms of music which the indigenous musicians have, because what do they sing about? They sing about mainly about nature. They sing about coexistence with all life. And coexisting with the elements of nature. And and I love those thematic elements simply because there's a lot that we can actually learn from them.
True, that's true. So when you said that you would have only wanted to be known as Ricky Kej the musician, the transition that you have had from dentistry to being a musician has been, I'm sure, difficult, and you have spoken about it that it's difficult.
Yeah, it wasn't a transition actually, because I've always wanted to be a musician.
Right.
And from a young age itself, I decided that I'm going to be a professional musician. I would say the dentistry was more like a speed breaker in my career, simply because my father, being a third generation doctor, he forced me to do a dental degree. But even while I was doing my dentistry, the 5 years that I was in college, in the evenings, I was a professional musician.
Okay.
So I was composing music for television commercials and radio commercials, and even doing short films and things like that. So my musical career had already started, and there was never ever any intention in my mind, not even for a second, to be a dentist. It was just to get the degree to make my father happy. Yeah.
Right. Okay, I get it. And is there any advice that you have for any young people who are looking for unconventional career paths? Because you, as you said, it's not easy for a lot of them to switch to their, to others' wills and aspirations. But most of them are forced. What do you tell them?
I guess it's very important to do what you're passionate about. At least try it out, because you can become an engineer, let's say. And and nowadays people are being laid off from the engineering jobs all over the place. Like Twitter laid off about 80% of their employees. Google lays off about 40-50% of their employees. So you can fail at something that you hate doing. So might as well fail at something that you love doing, right? So I would say that just go ahead and jump into the deep end of the swimming pool.
Absolutely.
Don't treat like if you want to be a musician, or you want to be an artist, or you want to be a actor or a dancer or something like that, I would say just go ahead and do it, and don't do it and don't have a day job and then do this in the evening, because being an artist, it needs to be a full-time profession. So I would liken it to just jump into the deep end of the swimming pool. So when you jump into the deep end of the swimming pool and you don't know swimming, you just struggle and you try to find it. So you just have to do that. You just jump into the deep end of the swimming pool, struggle your way out, and figure out how to be an artist and how to be a full-time artist, and I'm pretty sure that you'll be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. That's beautiful. Coming back to Break of Dawn, how do you think music really impacts topics like mental health? It plays a major role. How is it? What were your thoughts when you were creating this album?
So the thing about mental health is that, and music, is that it's pretty obvious that when you think about it, that music can, soothe you, music can calm you, when you think about it, like, when you're very stressed, if you listen to very soothing, meditative, calming music, then it sort of unwinds your mind, and it can help you sleep better. But the thing is that we need to have more and more scientific evidence on that.
Absolutely.
Because each individual is completely different. Each individual has got a different form of music that they absolutely like, or they react to in a very emotional way. So I feel that the scientific evidence becomes really important so that we can learn more and we can target the right kind of music to the right kind of person.
Yeah.
Just like how everybody's biochemistry of their body is completely different. Different medicines have got a different effect on them. Different foods have got a different effect on them. It's similar with music too. So I guess that's what is important. But it is very, very obvious that music has got a very therapeutic effect on people. We just have to quantify it.
Right, absolutely. On to my last question. What is in store for you in 2020 as 2024 draws to a close and there's 2025 coming? What's it? What new collaborations and projects are we expecting?
So right now, of course, there are a lot of concerts. I'm going to be performing all over India in the next 1.5 months. I'm going to be performing in Sikkim, in Jaipur, in Delhi, in Bengaluru, in Chennai. All of these places I'm going to be performing in. So I'm looking forward to those performances. Also going to be doing my first ever concert in Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
so that's going to be very interesting in the first week of December. And also going to be performing in New York. So I'm going to be doing a couple of international concerts, couple of concerts in India. And when it comes to recording a new album or recording new music, I'm going to not do that right now simply because I want to spend as much time promoting Break of Dawn because I've worked so hard on that album. I want to ensure that it has its desired impact and it reaches out to as many people as possible, creates enough mental wellness within people's minds. And then once I feel that it's had its desired impact, then I will go on and focus on working on a new project.
It's bound to reach all those heights. All the best to you, sir.
Thank you so much.
I really pray the Grammy comes home this time around.
Thank
all
you.
the best to you. It was lovely talking to you.
Lovely talking to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.